It's south scared and south. It's it's not gonna get touched.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the special meeting of the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors for July 27th, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Present. Here. Present.
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 Here. Okay, we're going to be going into closed session. So Johanna, can you take us into closed session, please?
Yes, Chair. The board is adjourned to closed session. Thank you.
Don't you need to say what we're doing?
Oh, yes, you will be conducting, it's an appointment or a review of the recruitment related to the CEO recruitment. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much.
Is Ed not gonna be here today?
No, that's not.
Yes. Like, wait a minute. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Okay. Not on an item. Hi, Ty. How are you doing? Good, thank you. Right? I'm trying to get to it from my phone and my calendar. So I can send it to somebody because I don't have my computer with me today. Because I never have room for it up here. We were walking in, I told Barbara, I said, my computer is really loud. Yeah, my computer. Yeah, but now I need, there it is. I think I've learned more from his updates about CEA and what they do just from his updates. And because I have to look up all the acronyms. Yeah. All the time. I'm a teacher. Uh-huh. And it's like something. So we feel like we're the experts. Right. The same way. Yeah. Yeah, you do learn a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Susan, put up, come on, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Take your nice spot over there.
Where your name is? Right? Oh, it is. Nice. Yeah, yeah. You went to the CAC meeting. We had advisory committee. When they move in here and it's next week and I won't be coming to that. There's no room to sit here. They're full. All the way. Yeah, I'll just call roll from home.
Yeah.
I think she will be in person. Because, see, that'll be August, so their next one won't be until October. So they may have a new CEO by then too.
Thank you. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for Clean Energy Alliance for July 27th, 2023. Johanna, will you take us back from closed session first?
Thank you, Chair. Direction provided, no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Susan, will you call the roll?
Member Sanchez,
Present.
Member Becker,
Present.
Mendez, Member Bapatel,
Here.
Member Garcia,
Present.
Chair Drucker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. So Christy, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any board member comments or announcements? No.
I have no announcements.
Great, thank you. So the next is a presentation for the recognition of Ty Tazzel. So I'm going to meet him at the podium for this. Okay, so this is the first commendation the EA. And so we really appreciate all of the exceptional work the EA for supporting greenhouse gas emission reductions and bringing community choice to San Diego County. Your efforts will make a difference for generations. It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate all of the work that you've done to represent us with San Diego Gas Electric and making sure that our ratepayers are proper. Really, thank you very much. And now the podium is yours for us to hear your last word.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, board members, and I really appreciate the invitation today. I don't like to be outdone though, so let me recognize you and tell you that you and your member cities in forming this organization embrace a vision for our energy future here in San Diego and took a calculated risk, and it's been a wild success in my opinion. Not too humble to say that. The work isn't done, obviously. We've got to get to 100% renewable. There's new programs that need to be adopted and implemented, and we need to do so while we're looking out for our low income rate. So I leave our work in very capable hands. And Barbara and other board members, and I will miss working with all of you. So it's great. Thank you so much.
Are any other board members like to make any comments on this? Christy, I assume you would have
I
something.
did last time and I will repeat them that, I've known Ty since just before Solana Beach started their CCA, and you were just always so patient and able to explain things in ways that, this stuff is complicated. And so I was always in awe of you, but you always explain things to me, and I'm going to miss you. And I hope you are lining up a good replacement. And so we will miss you. I know you're going to still be in the community, and I know you'll still be involved. So thank you for your knowledge and everything you've done. Thanks.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Priya,
Yes, just thank you and best of luck for whatever's next. So thanks again.
very good. Thank you very much again, Ty. So next we have public comment. Susan, can you explain how public comment works?
Certainly, members of the public can address the board on items on the agenda at the time the item is being addressed or during public comments for topics that are not listed on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. To make a comment, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the board secretary, which is me. When you're called to speak, please come forward to the podium and state your name. To address the board on items on the agenda, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to me before the board chair announces the item. Thank you.
So Susan, do we have any members of the public that want to comment on items not on the agenda?
We have 2 requests to speak. The first speaker is Mary Oren.
Mary, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak. And thank you for your great work. I'm here to share a story that was in The Guardian that I shared with my friend Don Christensen, who I'm sure you guys know. And he said to please come today and share it with you. So it's definitely worth a 5-minute read if you can check it out yourself. It's called How the Solar Farms Took Over the California Desert. So first, I just want to say we're making progress on climate change and it's urgent. July is set to be the hottest month ever recorded. And there's so many things I could list about what's going on, but I only have 3 minutes. So the call to action is on. Planet Earth is a puzzle and a domino game. Something shifts or gets lost and it disrupts everything. While deserts have been viewed as open terrain, a 20th century solution to a 21st century problem, as stated in the Guardian story, it is not as helpful as locally produced. Where there are cars, there should be solar. Simple. Parking lots and rooftops. So why the big desert setups? The Guardian story says, we have been led to believe that all solar is good, but it is not when it molests pristine land, requires hundreds of millions of dollars to transmit to city centers, and loses so much power along the way. It is simply preserving the monopoly of the big energy companies. When people look across the desert, they just see scrubby little plants that look dead half the time. Robin Cobley, a botanist and 20-year BLM employee, recently wrote a book, The Desert Underground, says, revealing the hidden universe of roots extending 150 feet below the desert surface, supported by branches of networks of fungal mycelium, calling it an underground forest. This is her book that she wrote. It's just as majestic and important as the giant redwood forest. We just can't see it. This root system operates as an enormous carbon sink. Plants breathe in carbon dioxide at the surface and out underground into the rocks. Does this mean I'm like cutting off getting soon? Okay, anyway, what we're trying to say here is the desert is a very important part of the puzzle. We're disrupting it. And what we're doing is actually screwing ourselves because we're undoing something that's fixing the carbon sink. So this idea of more and more big, gigantic operations in the desert is very dangerous. And I'm just inviting you to leave the desert alone. Let it do its epic job. And let's focus on bringing in solar to places that have already been developed with asphalt parking lots and other places where we can plug in and get clean energy just like that. You know, because we're going to be driving electric cars, you guys, and we need charging stations right where the energy is being produced. And there's asphalt everywhere. I really hope we can commit to solar canopies, microgrids, and storage. Okay. Thank you. And again, just if you want to check it out, the story was in The Guardian and it's called How the Solar Farms Took Over the California Desert. You'll be shocked when you read it. It's really informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Lane Sharman.
Welcome, Lane.
Thank you very much. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Really is. I took a little sabbatical from community choice aggregation so I could get my balance sheet back in order after 10 years of volunteering for CCA development in San Diego. And I'm pleased to say that I was a little bit successful in doing that. And it's a pleasure to be back here again and address you all on a couple of really important topics. Number one, you have an opportunity to look at a new chapter with this irreplaceable barb in the future. And you have a chance to create a staff of people who are experts in things like procurement. And you need to have a procurement officer because procurement is tricky. And it brings me to point number two. Point number two is that San Diego Gas and Electric and Sempra Energy are not your friends. They're not. They are a significant profit-driven methane gas business. Sempra is a methane gas business, and they will not sell you resource adequacy at a loss. They will sell it to you at a great profit. So I don't consider Sempra or San Diego Gas and Electric great counterparties. Calpine, on the other hand, is a great counterparty. Shell is a great counterparty. But technically, financially, your procurement from Sempra and SDG&E is not something that I would look positively on. And then the third thing is, I wrote to you a little letter. It got a little technical, I'm afraid, but it's about thermal batteries as opposed to lithium ion batteries. Thermal batteries are like what you see in a pizza parlor. It's a big brick oven. It's storing heat, and it's storing heat, which is used on the one hand for industrial energy, for heating and cooling, but it can also be used in turn to drive a steam turbine and create electricity. And so we're seeing around the world a great deal of transition off of lithium ion to thermal batteries. And I just want to encourage all of the CCAs in California to look at thermal batteries as a great new distributed energy resource. And we're hoping to answer some RFPs in the future on that very topic. So thank you. I think that wraps it up and keeps it within 3 minutes, which is unusual for me.
Yes.
And congratulations to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Lane. Thank you also for keeping it down to 3 minutes. So with that, are there any other speakers?
There are no further requests.
Great. Then I will close public comment. And next we go on to approval of the minutes for May 25th and June 29th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Very good. Susan, if you will call the roll.
Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Member Melendez.
Yes.
Member Becker.
Yes.
Member Garcia.
Yes.
Member Bat Patel.
Yes.
Chair Druker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we go to the consent calendar. Barbara, are there any changes to the consent calendar?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, at this time, we'd like to pull item 3 and we will move it to a future meeting.
Okay, item 3 is pulled. No, actually removed, not pulled. Are there any, there's only one other item. Does anybody want to pull that item? Do we have any public comment on that item? Item 4. Anybody want to pull that? Very good. Do I have a motion to approve item 4?
So moved.
1, 2, and 4.
Second from Garcia. Okay,
1, 2, and 4. Am I missing something?
Yes, we're removing the
I'm
entire
sorry.
consent calendar.
yeah, I'm sorry. 1, 2, and 4.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Keeping me honest. Okay, roll call on that.
Member Becker.
Yes.
Member Bat Patel.
Yes.
Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Member Melendez.
Yes.
Member Garcia.
Yes.
Chair Druker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we go on to new business, and the first item is Clean Energy Alliance Operational, Administrative, and Regulatory Affairs Update. Barbara, I guess you were up, and we have a new Regulatory Affairs Attorney, Tim Lindell, and I guess he will introduce himself in person this time rather than on
Yeah.
Zoom. So go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a couple of updates to share, but would also like to introduce Mr. Tim Lindell. Tim is from Keys and Fox. They are an attorney firm that specializes in the community choice aggregation industry. They are not new to us. They've been providing support to Clean Energy Alliance with their advocacy on the rate proceedings that San Diego Gas and Electric has before the Public Utilities Commission. And we're excited to have them add these services to their role. The item before you, the two items before you are receive and file. So there is no recommended action from the board. First, I would like to provide the board with an update on our opt-out activity. We are just closing up the 60-day enrollment period for the cities of Escondido and San Marcos. And I'm pleased to say that we've had great results from those enrollments and have just over 3% opt-out rates from those two cities. And you can see from the chart on the left, the majority of our opt-out activity happened in April and has since dropped off to a more normalized level now that we're through the enrollment period. I do want to touch on an assembly bill that has surfaced in February that presented concerns to the community choice aggregation community, and which Chair Drucker and I have been active in advocating on behalf of our concerns. It's Assembly Bill 1373, introduced by Assembly Member Garcia. This bill would impact CEA's procurement autonomy and also our ability to control costs to our customers. The professional organization, California Community Choice Association, also known as CalCCA, launched an effort to have the bill amended and was successful. There has been great progress made in the amended bill. The bill was amended twice in Assembly. It was amended April 13th and again on May 22nd. But there continues to be concerns of both Clean Energy Alliance, San Diego Community Power, as well as Orange County Power Authority. And so we have been meeting with elected officials to express those concerns. The bill was not heard by the policy committee prior to its recess. However, it could still be heard because there is an urgency clause in the bill. Activities to date and planned activities included meetings with elected officials, and also joint meetings between the three community choice aggregation entities to discuss next steps. And Chair Drucker, did you want to say a couple of words about those activities?
Basically, we've met a couple times now with San Diego Community Power. They do have a full-time, well, they do have an advocacy group up in Sacramento that works with them. And they actually also have a full-time person that works on government affairs. So they're kind of leading the charge, shall we say, and we are just giving them support as important. And I appreciate us getting involved in this because ultimately this is could give the PUC a whole lot of ability to determine where we buy power. And we are supposed to be independent of that as much as possible.
Thank you, Chair. So we will keep the board apprised as this bill moves. With that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Lindell for his regulatory report.
All right, good afternoon, Chair and board members. While Barb brings my slides up, just want to reintroduce myself to all. My name is Tim Lindell. I'm a partner at Keys and Fox. My colleague Lee Ewing and I spoke with you all back in February about the overly exciting topic of the power charge and difference adjustment. I'm Ty Tosdall's inferior replacement, no doubt. I know he's gone now, but I want to express some quick gratitude to Ty. He's been an ally, and then he became a client. Now he's become a friend of our firm. And we certainly know that we have some really big shoes to fill here with you all. So looking forward to doing our best to do so. So the overview is quick, the reintroduction I just gave, and then I'm going to touch on resource adequacy, provider of last resort. And with that one, I'm going to use an acronym called POLAR. And then we'll do two quick updates on the power charge and difference adjustment and the net billing tariff. This one is pretty momentous. There was a decision back in June regarding resource adequacy from the Public Utilities Commission. Each CCA has to buy enough capacity that every month it can show the commission that it has enough capacity to serve its customers. It has to do that every year as well. Those are called month ahead filings and year ahead filings. The commission became frustrated when certain CCAs were not meeting their month ahead and year ahead obligations. And so through the process of this case, it came up with a new rule to limit CCA expansion that is tied to your resource adequacy filing. The new rule is that if in any months or years, 2 years prior to when you want to expand, you have had a deficiency of more than 1%, you will not be allowed to expand. So that means no new cities or counties can join an existing CCA. You can add customers within your service territory, but you cannot expand your service territory. And that prohibition lasts for the next year. So to give you an example, if you wanted to expand in 2026, you would file with the commission in 2025 to do so. The commission would look at your resource adequacy filings in 2023 and 2024, see if you had any deficiencies. And if you did, you wouldn't be able to expand until 2027. There is an ability to cure your deficiencies, but it's very limited. It has to do with year ahead filings. And it's only in the first of the 2 years that they're looking at. We don't need to go into it. It's very limited. On timing, prior deficiencies don't count. This was a big change between what's called the proposed decision at the commission and the final decision. So any prior times where you were more than 1% off, those don't count, but the assessments begin really soon, September 23 month aheads and your October 23 year ahead. So you are more than 1% short in September of this year. You won't be able to expand your CCA until 2027. Now, bottom line there talks about next steps. And in my opinion, that is a pretty massive jurisdictional overreach by the Public Utilities Commission. The Public Utilities Commission has very prescribed authority over the expansion of CCAs within statute. And it limits what they can and can't do over the establishment and expansion of CCAs. They've even admitted that they do not have control over the establishment of CCAs in prior commission decisions. So you would expect that this is something that CalCCA and other CCAs would take up the challenge. And in fact, yesterday, CalCCA filed an application for rehearing of this decision. And that is the first step towards appealing the decision. And that is the resource adequacy decision. Another case I want to hit on real quickly, well, probably not real quickly. You said these things are complicated, so I'll do my best to not go too deep, but still open to questions, of course. So the polar proceeding. What the polar is it is the load serving entity, the people that provide electricity to the customers that has to take over when another load serving entity can no longer serve their customers. The three polars in California are the three investor-owned utilities, PG&E, SCE, SDG&E. In this case, the PUC has set out to implement a bill, SB 520 from 2019, to rework the polar structure. And it is being done in response to Western Community Energy's stopping providing service in Southern California Edison's service territory. That's really what triggered this bill, this thing moving forward. There are a number of different ins and outs to this case. The two that I really want to focus on that provide, some opportunity and some risk for you all is the second bullet there, the changes to the financial services requirement. This is something you have to post every 6 months. And it is intended to cover the net costs of bringing your customers back to bundled service if that should become necessary. CalCCA's filed an opening brief that said the FSRs, financial security requirements, are too high. They don't take into account, they overestimate the costs, and they don't take into account the likelihood of CCA failure, which is really low, especially on account of financial issues. And then of course, SDG&E pushed back and said the FSR is way too low. It should be much higher. Their main concern seems to be if San Diego Community Power stops serving and 5 days later they haven't served % of their service territory in what they would call overnight. So there's a lot of fighting back and forth on the level of these fees, on the type of bonds you can use in order to provide the financial security requirement. And then the other little piece of this is this thing called financial monitoring. And the commission expressed an interest in being able to telegraph when a CCA or an LSC is going to no longer be able to provide service to its customers. And so there was a proposal that if, 5 things, one of 5 things might happen, the CCA is then going to have to financially report back to the PUC so that the PUC can kind of keep an eye on what's going on with that CCA. I'm only going to talk about one of them, and that's if you have an investment grade credit rating, and you drop below investment grade credit rating, that's one of the 5 triggers that would create financial reporting. Cal CCA said that only the downgrade should matter. So if you don't have an investment grade credit rating, you shouldn't automatically be required to report. The only issue on this that SDG&E commented on its opening brief was we have to require all CCAs to register with credit rating agencies so that we know if they are investment grade. So some risks and some opportunities. Case. All right. After 5.5 years figuring out how the power charge and difference adjustment should be applied, the commission has finally closed the PCIA rulemaking. But the fight continues. We'll be fighting to keep the PCIA as low as possible in the era forecast proceedings that we talked about last February and the general rate cases. And then lastly, I know a lot of your customers are interested in net metering and the net billing tariff, what's going on there. So I want to give a quick update that the application for rehearing from Protect Our Communities Foundation was denied. It's no surprise. The commission almost never grants rehearing. The appeal persists, so they can still appeal that decision, California Court of Appeals. And then in terms of the new tariff, that is still moving forward. So NEM 2, the old version of net metering, closed on April 15th. The next iteration of that, the net billing tariff, is actually still not yet available because the commission has not adopted it. So customers, utility customers that want to sign up for net metering now, they sign up for NEM 2, and then they're going to get shifted to new net billing tariff once it is finally approved. That's the status on meter. So that's it. Would love questions, would certainly appreciate feedback via email or a phone call or an angry text about how we can make these better going forward. If there's topics you want to hear about, we're more than happy to do so. I just want to say we're really grateful for this opportunity. We're going to work really hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim and Barbara. Are there questions for Tim or Barbara? Go ahead, Esther.
Thank you. With respect to D 23-06-029.
Yeah.
Does that impact us at all in terms of Oceanside coming on board as well as, is it Escondido? Vista, I'm sorry, Vista coming on board.
I can respond to that. So the process that a CCA goes through to add communities is through an amended implementation plan. And it's through that process that the PUC has determined it's either going to approve or disapprove an expansion. And we have a certified amended implementation plan for Oceanside and Vista. So there's
That's
nothing
passed.
that's passed.
Okay, so this won't affect us at all. I understand that there are, moving forward, if, for example, San Clemente would want to join, then at that point, if this is still law,
Could potentially, depending on how we stand with regards to our month ahead
right?
or year ahead resource adequacy and pending the processes that are appeal processes that are currently underway.
For this new ruling. Just a quick question here. Has there ever been a deficiency, 1% or over deficiency?
In the past, no, we have not had any deficiencies in the past.
I assume the response was no, but I just wanted it for the record. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, I said you're welcome and you gave me. I will say though, the RA market is very tight. And so laying this at the feet of the CCA is pretty up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'll
crazy.
echo that. I will say that this summer, August and September, it's highly likely that almost every CCA has a deficiency for August and September because there has been more requirements than there are supply. And so it's quite a challenge for CCAs to meet their obligations.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you very much, Barbara and Tim.
Thank you.
We go on to item 6, which is consider approving agreement with Calpine Energy Solutions and Recurve Analytics. So Barbara, I assume you have a presentation on this?
Thank you, Chair Drucker and board members. As you know, one of our goals that Clean Energy Alliance has, in addition to increasing the amount of renewable energy that's being provided to our customers, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and providing savings to customers, we also want to offer programs to our customers that helps them to achieve savings on their overall bill. And while we have limited resources, we are continually looking for opportunities to provide programs at no cost or little cost to us. We have, through our partnership with Calpine Energy Solutions, an opportunity to bring a pilot program to our customers, to offer to our non-residential customers that would do just that. So the item before consideration is for the board to consider approving an agreement with Calpine Energy Solutions and Recurve Analytics for a summer peak load reduction pilot program for an amount not to exceed $150,000 and authorize the CEO to execute all documents subject to general counsel approval. Calpine and Recurve have developed and are currently operating a peak load reduction program in other CCA territories, particularly in Northern California, through their Flex Market platform. Through this platform, they identify non-residential customers through analyzing their electric usage that would be good candidates for energy efficiency projects that, if implemented, result in a reduction in their electric usage during peak times. The CCA does not incur any costs or pay for any projects unless there is proven reduction in usage through the projects. The Flex Market program has proven successful in the CCAs where this program is in place. So this is shows the process that goes through. So we through the process, we identify customers, and we are looking at all 5 operational cities to identify non-residential customers that would be good candidates. Then the measures are implemented, the projects are implemented, and we have a goal to complete those by the end of August to meet before the potential September heat waves that we saw last year. Once completed, their usage is analyzed and validated. And if there is savings that is occurred, a portion of that savings then is paid to pay for the projects. To support this pilot program, Calpine is contributing $50,000, and coupled with our $150,000, the total pilot program is $200,000. So the benefits to Clean Energy Alliance, one is the peak, or primarily the peak load reductions. So it does reduce our exposure to high energy costs during heat events. So where our portfolio and our energy hedges that we put together are really based on normalized or average weather. And when we're exposed to extreme heat events like we experienced in September, we may then incur higher than anticipated energy costs. And so these measures would reduce the electric usage during the peak times. And then on an ongoing basis, it reduces our resource adequacy requirements. So You heard about resource adequacy in our last presentation, and our requirements are based on peak loads in the summertime. So to the extent that we can reduce those peak loads through these measures, it reduces then our resource adequacy requirements in the future. The benefits to the customer is that they then have the benefit of the energy efficiency measures at no cost to them, and they realize bill savings. So not only do they enjoy the savings they receive from Clean Energy Alliance through our lower generation costs, but when they reduce their energy usage, they also save on the delivery side of the bill as well. And we do have representatives here from Calpine. We have Josh Brock and Mihaela Saccarelli, and if the board has questions, they are available, as am I. So thank you.
We have no request to speak.
I do have one question. I was curious, so who is it that's working on identifying the businesses that we would look at? Is that Calpine or is it your staff or?
That's the Recurve. So Recurve Analytics has
Oh.
the technology and the data warehouse abilities to analyze usage and determine who they are. They also have identified through this program in other areas who larger customers are that are, for lack of a better term, the low hanging fruit, right? Who are the large customers that have heavy usage that likely can have these needs for energy efficiency that then we can benefit from.
Yeah, and there might not be one, sorry to say, in the smaller cities. And so I guess I would be okay with if there were some other larger places in the other cities, I would be okay if, you know, Solana Beach wasn't one of the ones that we focused on, but it would be interesting if we got one from every city. That would be really great. But I love this program. Thank you so much for doing this. And thank you, Calpine and Recurve.
Other questions? Okay, I would also back up with what Christy did say. I know there's a major user of energy, the state fair, or not the state fair, the county fair. Unfortunately, they don't do much in September. You know, so again, if there's not a non-residential user in Del Mar, you know, let's at least get somebody else in Carlsbad and in San Marcos.
That's good. Yep. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Any other questions, comments? We need to approve this. So is there a motion to? Lane, I will let you make a public comment.
It's just a question. As I've seen this program being now implemented elsewhere in CCAs in the state of California. And I just have a question. If you have two coincident loads of, say, 100 megawatts, and you reduce one, but you miss the other, how does that work?
As a point of order, public comments directed to the board.
Yeah.
Should the board decide to pose that question to some members of the public, it's up to the board's discretion.
So just the question is if you have two coincident loads of 100 megawatts each, and Calpine's program addresses one of those users, one of those large users, but misses the other one, how does that work, or how does that solve or not solve?
Great. I think I can answer that. But I will ultimately defer to Barbara and Calpine. This is a pilot program. And if it works, then we will pick up that second one. But am I correct? Josh, do you want to answer that for Recurve? And
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board. To answer the question, there's a couple things, but I'll try and be concise with sort of the description here. So, Chair, you're absolutely correct. This is a pilot. This is ultimately a pay for performance. So we are looking at what occurs at a site that receives any of these measures. We'll be comparing that using, big data statistics. That's one of the sort of the powers of this platform is we're taking a significant amount of data using normalized statistics to determine what actually occurs, spending a year measuring that. So for those 50 megawatts under that hypothetical scenario, we'd be able to look at that and determine reductions and pay for what actually happens and appropriate. There is, in addition to the pilot itself, we're also standing up an analytics tool that will let us get into and drill down to every single customer to determine future opportunities for retrofits, both residential and non-residential across every service territory. So there's a lot of learnings that will come from this that can then be iterated on based on what comes out of this to determine if the board were to proceed with another program, how that would look like, type of customers that could be targeted, future opportunities to implement measures and policies that fit the board's goals and desire. I'm happy to speak offline.
Very good. And Lane, you do need to fill out a speaker slip on that. So we do have that for the record. Are there any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion?
Move approval?
Is there a second? Okay, Susan, will you please call the roll?
Member Melendez,
Yes.
member Sanchez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
member Patel,
Yes.
member Becker.
Yes.
Chair Druker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. On to item 7, which is a consider approval of memorandum of understanding between CEA, Poseidon Resources and San Diego County Water Authority regarding enrollment of Carlsbad desalination plant. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Chair Druker. The item before the board for consideration is the culmination of several years of cooperative work together between Clean Energy Alliance and San Diego County Water Authority. And we do have with us Brent Fountain. He is the engineering manager with San Diego County Water Authority and available to answer questions. What's before the board for consideration is approving a memorandum of understanding with Poseidon Resources LP and San Diego County Water Authority regarding enrollment of the Carlsbad desalination plant and authorize the chief executive officer to execute all documents subject to general counsel approval. By way of background, the Carlsbad desalination plant is owned by Poseidon Resources, also known as Channelside, and is located in the city of Carlsbad. San Diego County Water Authority has decision-making authority related to the energy provider through a water purchase agreement. The desalination plant is the largest in the United States, delivering nearly 50 million gallons of desalinated water and one third of the water generated in the county. Channelside, prior to Clean Energy Alliance beginning servicing the city of Carlsbad, the Channelside account was opted out of CEA service. And this was a decision that came as a result of meetings between Clean Energy Alliance and staff, Channelside and San Diego County Water Authority staff. The plant has one account, and that account has significant energy usage. And there's a risk to Clean Energy Alliance due to the opt-out provisions that with the click of a button, the account could be opted out and we could have significant financial exposure. So at the time we were enrolling, due to concerns on the channel side, SDCWA side, as well as Clean Energy Alliance, the decision was made to opt the account out. However, we continued to have contact and discussions over the past 2 years regarding how we could serve that load and help the water authority meet its goals with regards to controlling costs for its customers. As mentioned, it's a significant load, and at the time that we were launching, it would have represented 40% of Clean Energy Alliance's total load of the original 3 cities. Now that we are expanded this load, the percent of our load is reduced to about 10% of our current total load. Through ongoing conversations that included not only staffs, CEA staff, as well as our technical consultants and San Diego County Water Authority engineering staff, we've identified a unique opportunity to serve the plant while mitigating risk to Clean Energy Alliance. And this is through a new program offering that we will be developing and bringing before the board for approval that we have termed the Wholesale Market Access Tariff. Through this new program offering, Clean Energy Alliance would manage an energy portfolio that's specific to the plant's loads. So we would be entering into contracts that are specific to the channel side energy needs. And it would include all power supply products that are needed to serve that load, including resource adequacy and their renewable energy requirements. San Diego County Water Authority would participate in the procurement activities and procurement decision-making. The wholesale costs of energy would be passed on to the channel side account. So the per kilowatt hour cost of those contracts is what the channel side would be paying for that energy. In addition to that, there would be administrative overhead and an administrative overhead fee charged for the management of that service, and it also include incidental costs of managing the portfolio. There would also be a positive enrollment agreement. And through this agreement, we would establish a minimum opt-out period, which we envision to be at least 3 years. What that does is it gives us protections with regards to the contracts we would be entering into on behalf of the account. Should the water authority determine that they would like to opt out of service, then that gives time for those contracts to terminate and expire. And for those contracts that are remaining, there would be provisions in the agreement that the water authority would be responsible for taking those contracts with them. The positive enrollment agreement would set an enrollment date no earlier than January 2025. And they would be vintaged by San Diego Gas and Electric in the 2024 PCI vintage based on enrollment between January and June 2025. And this long lead time provides us the ability during 2024 to plan for and procure on behalf of that load. In addition, the Water Authority has a Rancho Penasquitos hydroelectric generation facility. And over the next several months, we would work together in good faith to try to reach an agreement for the purchase of the energy from that hydroelectric facility to help meet the some of the renewable energy requirements of the channel side load. So why would we want to consider servicing this load? Well, I think first and foremost is that it is a significant energy user in the city of Carlsbad. And by the account being served by Clean Energy Alliance, it increases the amount of renewable energy being procured to serve the load and reduces the greenhouse gas emissions attributable to that large load. It also provides a predictable revenue stream to Clean Energy Alliance through the wholesale market access tariff. The benefits to San Diego County Water Authority and channel side is that it would provide cost savings, electric cost savings to their customers. It also gives them control over their energy portfolio, which is in alignment of their long-term goals with regards to controlling energy costs. So in terms of next steps, with the board approval of the MOU, the three parties would execute the MOU, and then Clean Energy Alliance would begin developing the wholesale market access tariff and the positive enrollment agreement. And we would bring this before this board for approval prior to no later than October 26th of 2023. We would also begin working on negotiations with regards to a power purchase agreement for Rancho Penasquitos hydroelectric generation. It's envisioned that these agreements would be executed by the end of the year, by November of 2023. And then we would begin our activities in 2024 preparing to serve that energy load, including this load in our April 2024 resource adequacy filing, which is for the 2025 calendar year. And that concludes my presentation. And again, we have a representative here from San Diego County Water Authority available for questions. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Right. So before that, Susan, do we have any public comment on this?
We have no requests to speak.
Okay, great. Are there questions for Barbara or San Diego County Water Authority? Go ahead, Katie.
Thank you. I appreciate that this item is before us and it gives us an opportunity to bring a very large organization in to CEA with consideration of different risks. And I was just wondering if this is an isolated circumstance, or are we aware of other large organizations with a very, very high energy use that have a similar risk of, one click of a button and they opt out and there's a risk to us there?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We have large users, but what's unique is this is a large user with a single account as opposed to having several meters or several accounts. But even with that, we don't have any single user that has that amount of load associated with it. So while we have large users that we would, of course, never want to see them leave, it doesn't carry the same level of risk.
I have one question. So yeah, thank you so much for working on this for the last 2 years to get this right. So this will be great to have a deal locked in for 3 years. I was curious about, you said the benefit to the water authority and to Clearwater, was it? Or
Channel side.
Channel side. So it's hard to see. Is that they are going to have some rate savings, but would they still have a little bit of rate savings if they opted up to the 100% green product? And are you sort of working through that? That would just be wonderful if they could opt up to that 100% green.
Thank you. They would have savings if they opt up to 100%. One of the key terms in the MOU is that the water authority would consider at minimum enrolling at the City of Carlsbad's default, which is 75% carbon free. And they have indicated they would consider it, but their overall consideration is maximizing cost savings. But we encourage them very much to
Take a look
enroll in
at
the
it.
higher.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for all that work on it over the years.
Other questions? Okay. One question.
Well, I do want to also mention, Chair Drucker, I failed to mention that we did bring this before the Risk Oversight Committee, which includes Chair Drucker and Vice Chair Musgrove, and presented it to them. And the Risk Oversight Committee supports the enrollment of the account with this new program.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. One of the reasons the channel side Poseidon decided to do this is because the amount of savings they would have gotten if they had enrolled 2 years ago. Is that correct?
Well, I don't want to speak to whether or not that's a mitigating factor, but I can say that had they enrolled, they would have had cost savings as a result of being with Clean Energy Alliance.
Great. So I think everybody knows that moving water around, producing water is one of the largest energy users in California, probably the world. And so this is extremely important that we help for ratepayers reduce because we all use water, reduce the amount of electricity costs for Poseidon, because it is one of the reasons it's expensive is because the amount of electricity. The other thing in terms of Katie, they are a 24/7 shop. There's no other place that's using electricity that's 24/7 in North County. So it's extremely important. I would mention that we're going to have a signing ceremony. The reason for that is the chair of San Diego County Water Authority is a Dalmatian also. So it's interesting to see the two smallest cities have such a sway over what's going to be happening here. And I really appreciate that. So I'm just kidding about the signing ceremony, but it is just interesting that Del Mar is somewhat leading the way on this. So with that, we do need to approve this. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Will you please call the roll, Susan?
Member Sanchez,
Yes.
Melendez,
Yes.
Member Becker,
Yes.
Member Garcia,
Yes.
Member Bob Patel,
Yes.
Chair Drucker.
Yes,
Motion carries.
very good. Next is board member requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests? Okay, so the next meeting, we will most likely 90%, 99% not have a regular meeting on August 31st, which would be at 2 p.m. Instead, we are going to have a special closed session on August 31st, starting at 9:30 a.m. And that will be for interviews of candidates for the CEO position. So any other final comments? Very good. We are adjourned.